Welcome to our channel Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive. Imagine a family that looks completely normal from the outside. Smiling parents, polite children, a peaceful home that anyone would envy. But behind one locked door in their hallway, they were hiding a secret so dark, so unbelievable, that even their closest neighbors never suspected a thing. For years, they kept this secret buried until one stormy night, when the truth forced its way out. Tonight, you will discover what was hidden behind that door, and why this normal family lived in fear of something inside their own home. The Rahman family looked like the kind of people no one ever suspected of anything strange. Their house had blue curtains, a clean yard, and a small garden the mother tended with love. The father waved at neighbors every morning, and the children always seemed polite and quiet. To anyone passing by, they were completely normal. But inside the house, there was one rule everyone followed without question. No one ever touched the door at the end of the hallway. That door was old, painted brown and slightly cracked, but it always remained locked. The father kept the key in his pocket, and he checked the lock every night. If anyone asked why the door was off limits, he simply said the room was unsafe. The children grew up believing this. The mother never argued. Life continued as if the door didn't exist. But the youngest child, a girl named Amina, often wondered about it. She was 12, curious, and not as afraid as her older brother, Haris. Sometimes she stood at the end of the hallway, staring at the door, imagining what might be inside. She never heard anything unusual at least not at first. Every night at exactly 9:13 p.m., the father disappeared behind the door. He unlocked it quickly and stepped inside. Before closing it, he always turned up the radio in the living room. He said he liked the noise. The mother nodded and pretended that everything was fine. The children knew better than to question him. Some nights, Amina lay awake, thinking about how strange it all felt. She didn't understand why her father needed to go inside the room every single night. She didn't understand why no one could join him. The family never talked about it, and whenever Amina asked her mother, the answer was always the same. Some things are best left alone, but secrets do not stay quiet forever. One evening, the sky was dark with thick clouds, and lightning flashed over the neighborhood. The weather radio warned everyone about a coming storm. The mother hurried the children to bed early, hoping they would sleep before the thunder began. But Amina couldn't sleep. The storm made the house feel alive, like it was breathing. She heard the wind pushing against the walls and the trees scraping the windows. Her heart beat faster at 9:13 p.m. The familiar sound of her father's footsteps echoed through the hallway. She heard the key turn, the door open, and then close again. The radio in the living room grew louder, but tonight it wasn't loud enough. The wind howled. Thunder cracked. The entire house trembled. Amina got up and walked quietly to the hallway. She saw the radio flicker as the power struggled to stay on. She stepped closer to the forbidden door. Her breath caught when she thought she heard something behind it, a soft thump. It was faint but real. It wasn't the storm. It wasn't her imagination. It was a sound coming from inside the locked room. She took one step forward, then another. Her fingers reached for the doorknob, but before she touched it, her brother appeared behind her. "Amina, don't," he whispered, grabbing her arm. His voice shook. "You know the rule?" "I heard something," she whispered back. "Didn't you hear it?" Haris shook his head, but his eyes drifted to the door, filled with fear he couldn't hide. "Even if there is something we're not supposed to know, Baba will be angry." Before Amina could reply, the lights in the house blinked once, twice, then went out completely. The radio stopped mid-song. The house fell into total darkness. A second later, thunder exploded, shaking the windows. Amina and Haris froze. From behind the forbidden door came a new sound, one they had never heard so clearly before. It wasn't a thump. It wasn't the storm. It was a voice whispering their father's name. Amina's breath hitched. Harry stepped back. The whisper was low and cracked, like someone who had not spoken for years. The sound seeped through the wood, soft but unmistakable. A ... deal. Their father's name. Before either child could move, the hallway lit up with a flash of lightning from the window. In that brief glow, they saw the outline of their mother standing behind them. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear, and her hands shook slightly. "Both of you. Come away from that door," she whispered urgently. Amina tried to speak. "Mama, somebody is inside." Her mother closed her eyes for a long moment, as if fighting with herself. Then she gently put her arms around her children and guided them back toward their rooms. "You must trust me," she whispered. "Not tonight. Not during a storm." But Amina could tell her mother wasn't just worried. She was terrified. The three of them huddled in the children's room, waiting for the father to return. Minutes felt like hours. The storm grew louder, the house colder. Every now and then, Amina thought she heard something soft tapping, or maybe a sift from the hallway. She wasn't sure. Finally, they heard the father's footsteps. He walked up the stairs slowly, as if each step was heavier than the last. When he stepped into the room, his clothes were damp, and his face was tight with worry. "The power is out," he said simply. "We must stay calm." But Amina noticed something strange. His hands were trembling. He kept touching the pocket where he usually kept the key, but the outline of the key was not there. It was gone. A sudden dread filled her. If the key wasn't with him, where was it? Before she could ask, the father suddenly stiffened. His eyes shifted toward the hallway. Everyone fell silent. Down the hall, slow and deliberate, came the sound of the forbidden door creaking. Open, not pushed, not forced, opened from the inside. Amina stared at her parents. Her father's face went white. Her mother covered her mouth, and in the dark silence between thunderclaps, they all heard it the same whisper, clearer than ever. "A deal." The voice was calling again, and this time it wasn't alone. The whisper drifted through the hallway like a cold wind sliding under a door. It carried something heavier than fear, something old, familiar, and painful. The father stood frozen, staring into the darkness as if he already knew what waited there. Amina clung to her mother's arm. Haris shrank behind the bed. Neither child had ever seen their parents so terrified. It was as if the voice was peeling open a memory they had tried to bury for years. Another whisper rose. This time longer, trembling, almost pleading. "A deal. Don't leave me." The father closed his eyes, and for a moment it looked like he might collapse. His breathing turned shallow. He whispered under his breath, "Not again. Not tonight." The mother placed a hand on his arm, but even her touch made him flinch. He kept staring at the dark hallway as if expecting someone, or something to appear at any moment. Amina forced herself to speak. Her voice shook. "Baba, who is that? Who's calling you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped into the hallway, slow and cautious, as though walking toward a memory he feared but couldn't avoid. The darkness swallowed him except for faint flashes of lightning that lit his silhouette. The mother pulled her children close. "Stay here. Do not move." But Amina couldn't look away. She watched her father inch toward the door that had haunted her imagination for years. The door now stood open, its cracked wood trembling with every gust of wind. A flash of lightning revealed something inside the room, just a shape. Maybe a person sitting on the floor. Then the house went dark again. The whisper returned, softer this time, almost like crying. "Why? Did you lock me?" In the dark, the words cut through the silence. They sank into Amina's mind, heavy and confusing. She had never known anyone else to live in the house. No relatives visited. No guests stayed overnight. Yet the voice sounded hurt, lonely, and strangely familiar, as if it had once belonged to someone the father had loved. The father reached the doorway. His voice cracked as he spoke. "You shouldn't be out. Not now." The mother suddenly rushed forward, leaving the children behind. Her voice trembled as she called out, "A deal. Wait. Don't go inside alone." But she was too late. He stepped through the doorway and disappeared into the darkness of the forbidden room. Amina felt her heart twist. She wanted to follow, but fear glued her feet to the floor. The mother stopped at the doorway and whispered desperately, "A deal. Please answer me." Then came a sound that turned Amina's blood cold, another voice answering from inside the room. This voice was deeper, harsher, filled with years of anger. You kept me here, all these years, and you told them I was gone. Haris whimpered and covered his ears. Amina felt her stomach tighten. The mother trembled. Please. We had no choice. Lightning filled the hallway again. For a split second, Amina saw the inside of the room clearly. A man was sitting on the floor, thin, pale, with eyes that reflected both rage and sadness. His hands were chained to a metal ring in the wall, but the chain was broken. He could stand. He could move. And he had. The father stood 2 steps away from him, helpless. The light vanished, plunging everything into darkness again. A deep silence followed, broken only by the storm outside. The mother whispered, Adil. He's your brother. Please, don't make him angry. Amina's heart crashed in her chest. Brother? She had a brother she never knew about. A brother hidden away in a locked room? Hari shook his head in disbelief. Mama Baba has a brother? The mother pressed a trembling finger to her lips, signaling them to stay silent. Inside the room, the father finally spoke. His voice was low, guilty. I did what I had to do. You were dangerous. You hurt people. The chained man let out a bitter laugh. I hurt one person. One. And it was an accident. You said you believed me. You promised you would help me. Instead, you buried me alive. The storm roared outside, shaking the windows. You don't know what it was like in here. The man continued, his voice cracking. Every night, every day, alone, forgotten. You fed me, but you never freed me. You never let me see light. The father stepped back. You started changing. You weren't the same anymore, because you locked me up. The man screamed. A loud crash echoed through the house as something inside the room knocked over. The mother gasped. Amina grabbed her brother's hand and held it tight. The father stumbled into the hallway, breathing hard. His face was scratched, his shirt torn, as if the man inside had attacked him. But he managed to shut the door halfway before the lights flickered back on for a moment. The chained man stood in the doorway, holding the broken chain in one hand. His eyes were wild. His skin looked pale from years without sunlight. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a monster. He was real. He stepped forward, and the father pushed the door closed with all his strength. The man inside slammed against it, screaming, You lied to me, Adil. You lied to everyone. The father groaned as he used his body weight to keep the door shut. The mother rushed to help him, pressing her shoulder against the wood. The door shook violently as the man on the other side pounded against it. Get back. The father shouted to the children, Hide. But Amina couldn't move. Her mind felt stuck between fear and shock. They had hidden a man inside their home for years. A man who called her father a liar. A man who believed he had been betrayed. The storm continued to rage. The door creaked. The father's feet slid on the floor as he struggled to hold it shut. The mother cried out, Adil, he's stronger than before. We can't hold him. The father's voice cracked. He can't get out. He can't. If he escapes, he'll hurt someone again. A loud bang interrupted them. The wood splintered. Amina screamed. The father shoved the mother aside, just as the door burst open with a violent crack. The man inside the room stepped out, breathing heavily, his broken chain dragging on the floor like a deadly tail. He stared at the family, his eyes burning with a pain that words could not explain. The father stood between him and the children, hands trembling. Please, don't do this. The man took one slow step forward, then another. Lightning flashed, illuminating his face. His voice was barely a whisper now. You should have let me live, not kept me half dead. He raised the chain, and the hallway fell silent. The broken chain dragged along the floor as the man stepped closer. The metal scraped against the wooden boards, echoing through the hallway like a warning. Amina felt frozen, unable to scream or run. Haris clung to her arm, trembling so hard she could feel his heartbeat through his fingers. The father raised his hand slowly, trying to appear calm, though his voice shook. "Please listen to me. We can talk about this. No one needs to get hurt." The man stared at him with eyes that carried years of loneliness, anger, and betrayal. "You say that now? After everything? You think words will fix what you did to me?" The father swallowed hard. "I didn't want this. You know that." The man tightened his grip on the broken chain. His breath came in harsh bursts. "You locked me away. You made me disappear. You made me believe I didn't matter anymore." The mother stepped forward, placing herself beside the father. Her voice was soft, but desperate. "Please, we did what we thought was right. You weren't well." The man's expression twisted. "I wasn't well because you trapped me. You took away my life. I trusted you. Both of you." Lightning flashed again, lighting up the hallway for a brief moment. The man's pale, scarred skin became visible, along with the bruises on his wrists from years of restraint. He looked like a ghost who had been forced to live instead of die. Amina couldn't understand everything, but she knew one thing. The man in front of them was hurting, more deeply than she ever imagined. The father kept his hands raised. "You're free now. The chain is broken. You can leave. I won't stop you. But don't hurt my family." The man laughed, short, bitter, and hollow. "Free? After all these years, you think opening a door makes me free?" He stepped forward sharply, and the father flinched. Amina couldn't stay silent anymore. She pushed past Horace and shouted, "Stop!" Everyone froze. The man turned his head slowly toward her. His eyes softened, just slightly. "You're the little one, the girl." Amina nodded, though fear made her knees shake. Why? Why were you in that room? Why didn't they tell us about you?" The man blinked. For a moment, the rage faded, replaced by something like sadness. "Because they were ashamed of me." The mother covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. "No, that's not true." The man ignored her and looked back at Amina. "They said I hurt someone. They said I needed help. But instead of helping me, they hid me. They were afraid of what the world would think." Amina shook her head slowly. "Did you hurt someone?" The hallway went silent. The storm seemed to hold its breath. The man lowered his gaze. "Yes, but I didn't mean to." His voice cracked. "It was an accident. I lost control. I never wanted anyone to be harmed." The father stepped forward again. "You did more than hurt someone. You nearly killed them. And after that, you weren't the same. You've scared people." "You scared yourself?" The man's jaw tightened. "So you threw me away instead of helping me heal?" The mother cried softly. "We were scared. We didn't know what to do. We didn't want the police to take you. We didn't want you in a hospital forever. So you chose a prison instead," the man whispered. He lifted the chain again. It's not to strike, but as if showing the weight of years he could never get back. The father closed his eyes, as though accepting whatever would come next. But the man didn't swing. Instead, his shoulders slumped. His hand shook. The chain slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor with a dull clang. He staggered backward until his back hit the wall. He sank to the floor, burying his face in his hands. The house fell silent, except for the storm outside. The mother approached cautiously, her voice soft. "I'm sorry. We should have done better. We should have asked for help. We kept you hidden because we were afraid of losing you. But in doing that, we lost you anyway." The man didn't look up. His body shook with quiet sobs. "I didn't want to be a monster." "You aren't," the mother whispered. The father knelt down, keeping a small distance. "I thought I was protecting everyone, but I see now that I only made things worse." "I'm sorry, brother." Slowly the man raised his head. His eyes were red, filled with pain. "What happens now?" Amina stepped forward, courage returning to her voice. "Now, maybe we try to fix things." The man stared at her for a long moment, then gave a broken, uncertain nod. The storm outside began to quiet, rain calming to a gentle patter. The tension in the house slowly loosened, like a knot finally easing. The father stood and helped the man to his feet. "We can get you real help now. Not a locked room. A doctor. A place where you can recover. The man hesitated. Will you visit me? The father's voice cracked. Every day if you want. The mother touched the man's arm gently. You are family. We should have acted like it before. Hari stepped out from behind the bed, still scared, but trying to be brave. Amina smiled at him, and slowly he stood beside her. The man looked at the children with a mix of guilt and wonder. You shouldn't have had to see any of this. Amina shook her head. But now we understand. And understanding is better than being afraid of nothing. The man gave a small nod, the first sign of peace on his face. As dawn approached, the storm finally passed. The house was quiet again, but no longer filled with secrets. The father found the lost key on the floor, broken during the struggle. He held it for a moment, then placed it on a shelf, not as something to hide, but as a reminder of what secrecy had cost them. Together, the family helped the man out of the house and into the morning light. He squinted, unused to the brightness, but breathed deeply as if tasting freedom for the first time in years. The father closed the door gently behind them. This time it stayed unlocked. A new day had begun. And although the future would not be easy, the family walked forward. No more lies, no more hidden rooms, no more whispers in the dark. Only truth, only healing, only hope. In the end, the Rahman family learned that secrets never stay hidden forever. The door they kept locked for years finally opened, not just in their home, but in their hearts. What they feared the most was not the person behind that door, but the truth they refused to face. Healing didn't come easily, but it came the moment they chose honesty over fear. As the new day rose, they stepped into a future without shadows, knowing that even the darkest secrets can lead to light when a family chooses to stand together. For watching more amazing videos like this, subscribe our channel Crime Loom.